This is Neil Ratner Rockdock here on WDST Radio Woodstock with another episode of This Week in Rock, stories from the soundtrack of our lives. This past week, musician, singer, songwriter, and producer Randy Bachman celebrated his 79th birthday. As a founder of both the Guess Who and Bachman Turner Overdrive, Randy is one of a handful of artists who have topped the charts in two different bands. So today, I thought I'd tell you a few things about Randy Bachman that you might not know. And as usual, a little background first. From a very early age, Randy was turned on to music by his immigrant parents, who knew how hard it would be for him to escape their poor Winnipeg Ukrainian ghetto without a talent in either sports
to get
or
out of here,
music.
You got to do a sport and you got to do an instrument. What do you want to play? What instrument do you want to play? Oh, I'd like to play drums. Oh, they're too noisy and too big and too expensive. Oh, I'd like to play piano. Too big, too noisy, too expensive. How about a violin? Okay. They get me a little half-size violin. At 5, I start to play classical violin, Royal Conservatory, where you're standing here and you're playing like Beethoven and Bach and Chopin and all this kind of stuff. And I found it as a kid, at age of 3, I could sing songs. My mother would always sing to the radio. I would sing with her. So I had a great, and the thing about violin, all you play in a violin is melody. It's like a flute. You can't play harmony. On violin, you can play harmony, but you can't on a flute. You play the lead line. So I start to play classical violin from age of 5. And every morning I had to get up at 7 and practice for 1 hour till 8. I had my cornflakes. I ran to school. After school, I had to practice a half an hour before I could put on my old jeans, because then you had jeans for school and old jeans you played hockey or baseball. Go and play till 6 till Dad came home and practice. I learned to practice. Burton Cummings, same thing, started piano at 5. Gary Peterson started drums at 5. We had a practice regimen. By the time we hit teenagehood, we'd hit our tipping point. We'd already done 10,000 hours. You want to be in a band? Do you know these songs? Yeah, I know these 300 songs. I can play them like the record. Oh, other guys are learning chords. We're learning Sgt. Pepper's. You know what I mean? We're learning Good Vibrations. We're learning stuff like that. So when the Guess Who started, we were all really incredible musicians.
The Guess Who had their origins in a band called Chad Allen and the Expressions, and released the album Shakin' All Over in January of 1965. That album's single, a cover of Shakin' All Over by Johnny Kidd and the Pirates, was the band's first major hit, reaching number 1 in Canada and number 22 in the United States. Their American label Quality Records disguised the single by crediting it to Guess Who as a publicity stunt to generate speculation that it was by a more famous British invasion band working incognito. Eventually, the label revealed the band to be Chad Allen and the Expressions, but disc jockeys continued to announce the group as Guess Who, effectively forcing the band to accept the new name. In 1966, Chad Allen left the band, and Burton Cummings became the primary vocalist. It took a few years, but the group finally broke through internationally in 1969 with their hit song These Eyes, co-written by Bachman and Cummings. The band released 3 successful albums over the next 2 years, including American Woman in 1970, which brought them mainstream attention. Randy left the band at the height of its popularity, shortly after the release of American Woman, due to differences with other band members, as well as health problems, which made it impossible for him to tour. Bachman recalled being labeled a lunatic and a loser, and felt that nobody wanted to work with him. The exception was Chad Allen, former Guess Who lead singer. The two agreed to work together and formed the country rock band Brave Belt. In 1972, bassist Fred Turner became the lead vocalist for the Brave Belt 2 album. Chad Allen left the band after the recording was completed, and the album sold poorly, causing the label to drop the band. Bachman emptied his bank account so that he and Fred Turner could produce a new set of demos, which got them a deal at Mercury Records. The label wanted a new name, and the band became Bachman Turner Overdrive, a band that went on to sell more than 30 million albums worldwide, including a multitude of top 10 hits. Taking care of business is one of BTO's most enduring anthems. And as Bachman describes, it came out the way it did, totally by accident.
There's a knock at the door when we're all done. This is at K. Smith Studios. And there's a guy there about 6 feet tall, frizzy hair, frizzy beard, wearing an army suit, and he's got 3 pizzas. He said, "You guys order pizza?" And I say, no, try down the hall. Steve Miller's in B, War's in Studio C, we're BTO, we're in 1. He comes back 5 minutes later, he said, "Yeah, I got rid of the pizza. I've been listening to this song, Taking Care of Business is playing. Listening to the song through the door. It sounds like it could use a piano." I said, yeah, I know Little Richard, I know Elton John. They're in LA right now at a big party. And he says, "I'm a piano player, give me a break. Give me a shot, please." And I go, "Come on. At 2 a.m, man, we've been here since noon. We're dead. Just one take. I give him 1 take, he plays it. He said, "What should I play?" Like I said, "Play a mix of Elton John, Little Richard, and Dr. John." So when you hear the piano taking care of it, the first verse is like Dr. John. The second verse is like Little Richard. The third one is like, Elton John. He did 1 take and went home. I didn't even hear it back. We were so tired. We came in the next day. The head of our label, Charlie Fash, flew in and said, "I want to hear the album." I said, "You're a day early. We haven't even got it done." I said to the engineer, "When you play him the album," this is BTO too, "play him Let It Ride." I knew that was like a radio song. And then TCB was buried, second last track on the second side. And I said, "Take the piano down," because we hadn't heard it back. So as he's playing the whole album, he gets to halfway through TCB, he pushes the piano up. And then comes the piano. And Charlie jumps out of his chair and goes, "That's amazing. BTO with the piano, you're going to get Elton real estate." I said, "What does that mean?" "You're going to get played on AM and FM. Elton's all over AM and FM. You're going to get real estate on Top 40 radio. That's what I want for you guys, Top 40 airplay."
The piano player was Norman Durkee, a Berklee School of Music graduate who went on to work as a composer, jingle writer, and musical director of cabaret theater. Okay, let's listen. Written and produced by Randy Bachman, with Norman Durkee on piano and Randy on lead guitar and vocals. Bachman, Turner, Overdrive, and Taking Care of Business.